Alright, this is where we left off in the last video, and the first thing we want to do is to improve the lighting. Okay, and now create a circle and set the number of vertices to 8. There we go. And now create a spotlight. Go to the top view and turn on vertex snapping like so, and snap the light to one of the vertices of the circle. Okay, now create an empty, anything you want, but I just create the sphere and make it a little smaller and call this one light target. For the spotlight, let's create a constraint, the damp track constraint, and make it track to the light target and use the -z axis. Okay, now the light will follow the target like so. Now select the light and hit Alt D on the keyboard to copy the light, and the hotkey Alt D will make the copy share the same data for the lights. So these two lights are linked together, and we change one, the other one will change as well, like so. Now snap this one here, and Alt D again, snap here, 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 and here. Okay, now we have 8 lights, all point towards this target. Okay, now select all the lights and select the circle last so that it is the active object, and Control P, parent to object. And next let's add a track to constraint to the circle, and track to the light target as well, and track the z-axis, and the up axis should be the y-axis. Alright, now we have something like this. So we will rename this circle to be the light control. Alright, now select all the lights and the target and move it to the Toon Light collection. Okay, now the light collection is the realistic light setup that we don't use, so let's just go ahead and delete that. Alright, so for the Toon Light collection, let's delete the point light here and use the new light setup. Okay, so the target, let's set this to face snapping and snap it onto the face. And also go to the object property tab and turn on in front, and select the light control and move it up here, something like that. Alright, now let's tweak the light a bit. For the light, go down to the spot shape and increase the blend to maximum, and reduce the size of it, and again set the size to 0, and maybe increase this to 100 or maybe 300. There we go. Apply a generic toon shader. There we go, and increase the color brightness a bit. So now you can see we have very nice looking shadows over here, and we have multiple bands of shadows which make it looks like it's some kind of dirty brush strokes. Okay, and down here you can see the shadows are very dirty, even though it's kind of like a soft shadow. Okay, so this is a much more interesting way to set up the lighting. Okay, and you can actually go in here and scale this up to increase the distance between the lights. And if you increase the distance between the light, you can see that the shadows kind of spread out a bit. And if you scale this all the way down to something close to 0, you can see that the shadows kind of merged together, like so. Alright, so that's it with the light. Let's get back to the skin shader. Okay, so for the skin shader, we will use the generic toon shader, and we will create let's say a image texture. There we go, and create, let's say, toon skin color, and let's make it 2K for now. There we go. Get rid of the alpha and set a base color, maybe something maybe like that. Okay, and put in the UV map. The model has multiple UVs, so I'm gonna use the general UV and connect it here and connect this to the color. There we go. And now it is time to paint the color. And yeah, let's go back to frame number 1 and get rid of the expression so that we have a symmetrical face. And the lash is actually connected to the base, so get rid of the expression for the base as well. Now I have actually prepared a bunch of brushes, but for now let's just focus on the default brush, okay, and set the strength to something like that. Alright, and let's just start painting. Go down here and turn on symmetry so that we don't have to paint the two sides of the face. So just paint some color variation for the face and maybe some variation for the ears as well, and change the color to something even more red, and paint the cheek to be a bit red like so, and maybe the chin as well and the nose. Alright, now let's paint the areas around the eye to be something less saturated and darker. Now for the eyelid, it is vital that you paint something bright around here like so. Alright, now switch to the smear tool, and I actually put in a noise texture for the brush, and so it kind of creates some sort of randomness for the brush, but it doesn't matter, you can just get rid of the noise altogether and it still works pretty much the same way. Alright, and switch back to the default brush and paint some more red. And maybe change this to multiply and slightly brush over here. This will kind of darken the skin a bit and darken here as well and under the nose, and switch back to the mix color and sample the color here and paint under the nose. So we're actually painting some fake shadows for the skin texture, okay? And we don't just rely on the Cycles engine to generate the shadows. We have to paint some fake shadows as well, because the fake shadows also give off a feeling of 2D drawing, while the generated shadows using the ray tracing engine, the shadows is kind of absolutely correct, so it kind of destroys the illusion of 2D painting. There we go. Maybe this face is a little too pale, so let's make some red and change this to where's color, and decrease the strength a bit and paint in some red color. And there we go, she's a lot redder now. There we go. And maybe some red for the neck as well. Now let's paint the eyebrows. Sample the color here and decrease the brightness a bit. Change back to the mix blend mode and paint the eyebrows. So this is actually just the shadows for the eyebrows. We will paint the individual hair for the eyebrows later. This is more like the makeup for the eyebrows, not actually the eyebrows. Okay. Alright. Now maybe paint some shadow under the eye socket as well. Yeah, I think the eyebrows is a bit too high, so we have to move it down a little. Maybe make it a bit even more darker. Alright, maybe like that. Now let's paint some highlight for the skin. So change this to the color dodge, and maybe change this to something white, and just no, maybe not white. Let's make something like this. Yeah, this will do. No, maybe not. There we go. And change this back to mix and increase the strength. And now we can sample this color here and paint around the cheek like so. Now maybe this is too white, so maybe sample the color here. Alright, this is better. And paint some highlight for the nose and some highlight for the forehead as well. And now switch to the smear to control the shape of the highlight a bit more precise. There we go. Now let's paint the color for the lips, maybe something like that. Yeah, too dark, maybe brighter. Yeah, this is better. Now change this to flat so that we can see where we're painting. And again, go back to paint mode. And right now you can see we are having some problem painting in the secluded areas. So tap to go to edit mode and select the faces around the mouth, and Ctrl+ on the numpad to grow the selection. And go back to paint mode and turn on this button. Okay. Now go down here and turn off the occlude option. Now we can paint the inside of the mouth, and the selection will prevent us from painting all the way to the back of the head, like so. Alright, now let's turn back on, maybe not yet. Let's paint some fake shadows for the inside of the lip, like so. Now you can see that the UV is kind of terrible around the mouth, and we can see the individual pixels around here, but we will deal with this problem later on. Okay. Now let's paint some fake gloss for the lips, something like that. Okay, that's the fake gloss for the lips. Maybe some more fake gloss, but turn off X mirror, and there we go. Now this is terrible. This UV is terrible, so let's not rely on that to paint the details. We will paint the details later using a different texture on a different UV. Okay. Now we can select everything or just turn off this button. Okay. Now we should paint some fake shadows under the mouth as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Some fake shadows under the mouth, like so. And use the smear tool to control the shapes of the shadows. And I think it is time to turn back the smooth shading. And I think the highlights are a bit too pale, so maybe we should bring back some saturation for the highlights. And again, choose color, and maybe select this color here, and yeah, let's decrease the strength a bit, and turn back on the X mirror and bring back some color for the highlights. There we go. And turn back mix. Alright, some more on the forehead, maybe something like that. Okay, now let's paint some eyeliner for the makeup. On second thought, let's paint the inside of the eyelid first. The color of the inside of the eyes is the same color of the lip, so just sample the color of the lip to paint the inside of the eyes. Alright, now let's paint the eyeliner using pure black. and increase the opacity, I mean the strength for the brush. And the 2K texture doesn't seem to be enough for the face, so that is a mistake right there. We should have used a 4K texture. There we go. And maybe blur out the lower line a bit, like so. And maybe let's refine the makeup a bit more. Now I think the colors around the eyes are a bit too bright as well, so we need to fix that. Maybe use the same color of the brow shadows, maybe a bit more saturated around here. Yeah, that looks a lot better. The nose is actually very glossy because for some reason there's a lot of skin oil on the tip of the nose. So we're gonna paint some fake gloss for the nose. Sample this color and increase the brightness and decrease the saturation a bit, and make a smaller brush, maybe even smaller, and turn off the asymmetry, and let's paint some fake gloss for the nose. And we forgot to turn on the occlude option, and we messed up the texture painting. But let's just turn it back on and fix the issue now. Alright, let's sample this color of the highlight here and paint over the eyelid, like so. There we go. Alright, so this is the base color, and let's now switch to the lines brush. Now the line brush is actually just the default brush, duplicated and set a smaller size. And yeah, I forgot to get rid of the unified size brush. Okay, so turn on the radius option, and now let's sample the color here and make some nice crosshatch kind of line so that we have some nice dirty brush strokes. Alright, turn off X mirror and just start cross-hatching some areas like so, and sample the dark color and cross-hatch as well. Like so. So yeah, let's leave this as that. Maybe switch back to the texture draw brush and sample this light and paint some more highlight on the collarbones. Turn back on the asymmetry, like so, and put some highlight on the breast. There we go. And let's paint some shadows for the breast. There we go. And maybe paint some red down on the neck and some fake shadow under the chin. There we go. And some highlight on the neck as well. There we go. And use the smear tool to blend the colors. Alright, now let's give some love for the ears. Paint some fake highlight for the ears, some fake highlights over here as well. There we go. And paint some darkness to the inside here. Alright, switch back to the smear tool and refine the highlight over here. There we go. Alright, now let's save our texture. Texture to skin color 1. I already have one here, so let's just use this name instead. Okay. Alright, now let's go back to object mode and render, and turn on the light, tune light. There we go. Increase the intensity of the light, maybe 600. Yeah, this skin texture is a bit too dark to compare with the other one. So maybe increase the ambient light a bit. There we go. And now we have a very painty kind of look for the character. Maybe just get rid of the gloss altogether. And make this blue and lighter. Alright, let's duplicate our light system and bring it down here. And for these lights, let's increase the size a bit, like so, and turn on the cloth. There we go. We have some very nice looking stuff. I think our crosshatch is a bit too weak, so go in here and increase the distance to 0.003. There we go. This is much better. Maybe just use a blue light, and here use some yellowish kind of light, and increase the intensity to 1200 maybe. That looks much better. Yeah, the skin is actually too dark, so yeah, maybe she is a dark skin kind of character. Whatever, it does not even matter that much. And let's go to the pose mode and turn back on the expression. And I think we should increase the size a bit. There we go. And maybe increase the specularity a little back on. Now create another image texture, okay? And this time we will use the face UV. So let me show you the UV of the character. Here I have the general UV, and you can see the face is actually just a corner of the entire texture, okay? And this is the UV of the face, where the face takes the entire UV square, and this is the rest of the body, and these are the other less important parts of the face, I mean the head. Okay, so this UV focus entirely on the face, and we will use this UV for our details. Okay, create a new texture and call this one details. There we go. And maybe 2K this time is okay. And turn on alpha and set the alpha to 0. Set everything to 0 like so. And okay. Use sRGB and create a color mix RGB and connect the alpha to the vector and connect the color to color 2, and let's maybe create one more, and this one use general. Okay, this will be our line work. Make it black like so. Now copy this mix node and connect this to the vector, and this will be the color of our lines. So just set this to black like so. So we have the base color, we have the line layer, and we have the details layer. Alright, now we will paint the lines layer first, and use the line brushstroke and set this color to white. There we go. So now we have some lines like this. And maybe paint the line here and set this color to black and remove some of that, and maybe paint some crosshatch kind of lines here like so. Paint some more lines here, okay, and paint some line here and another line here. Yeah, we should have used 4K. 2K is nothing, and but whatever. Alright, another line here. Maybe let's turn off the X symmetry. Maybe a line here, another one here, like so, and some line for the collarbone, like so, and some line for the cleavage. Yeah, I think the line for the cleavage is a little too high, so and maybe some crosshatch here. Alright, so that is about the main lines, and let's go ahead and save the lines and save this one as black and white. There we go. And the details as well. Save as details, and the details should be RGBA. Okay. We are using the face UV, so we have much more details on the face. But if we paint down here, we can see that it doesn't work. So this texture will only focus on the face, and we can paint a lot more details here, like so, if you so desire. But I do not desire a line around the lips, but I do desire some line under the lips, like that. Let's paint some highlights for the lips. Go back to texture draw and paint some highlight for the lips. Get rid of the X mirror and paint the highlights for the lips, like so. Alright, now if you want to erase what you have just painted, you have to switch to the erase alpha blend mode and you erase the alpha. Okay. Now switch back to the mix and let's just paint the color for the brows. Switch back to the lines and paint the brows. And we forgot to turn on the X symmetry again, so let's just turn it on now and paint. Alright, now turn off the X mirror and paint some additional hair for the left side. Alright, let's just leave it as that and paint some details under the eyelid, like so. Maybe turn on smoothing, go to the stroke and turn on smooth. Yeah. There we go. So basically the textures are done. So save all and go back to render and turn on the expression again, and go to the girl base and turn on the expression as well. There we go. Turn on the hair. Alright, so that's it with the shaders. So the next thing to do is to render the character and generate the freestyle lines. Okay. Alright, the freestyle option will generate the line art for our artwork. However, it does not generate the lines for the hairs. even if it does generate the lines for the hair, like in Blender 2.79, the lines for the hair will be very slow and it will look terrible. So we cannot use the freestyle for the hair, and we have to exclude the hair from being in the freestyle render somehow. So we can't just turn on the freestyle option and render right away. We have to go up here under the view layer menu and create a new view layer. Call this one freestyle. There we go. This will render the freestyle and this will render the character normally. Okay. So we will create another collection and name this one freestyle. There we go. And in the main render layer, we will disable the freestyle. And in the freestyle layer, we will disable everything else except for the freestyle layer. Okay. And go to the composition view and copy this render layer and change this one to freestyle. So now we have two renders, one for the main character and one for the freestyle. Okay. Now let's go ahead and delete all these, so we will recreate these later. Okay. Now let's go back to the viewport and go back to the main view. Now we will copy all the objects that we want to have freestyle to the freestyle layer, collection. Okay. And we don't need the light, so turn that off for now. We definitely need the cloth and the model. Okay, like so. We need the glasses, the eyes, and we don't need the teeth. There we go. These are the meshes that will generate the freestyle. Okay. So hit Alt D to duplicate them while sharing the data. Okay. And move them to the freestyle layer. Now turn back the freestyle layer and make sure you select all these objects, and let's select all these objects and go to the object mode and hold down Alt and click on the holdout option. By holding down Alt, you will turn on the holdout option for every single object that you have selected. Okay, so these objects will not be rendered. Okay, and we definitely don't want the eyelash to be in the freestyle. So yeah, there is no eyelash in the freestyle. And let's delete the hair as well. We don't want to copy the hair. And we can now go ahead and turn off the freestyle layer. Alright, now go to the freestyle layer, view layer, and go to this tab, the view layer property tab, and scroll all the way down and add a freestyle line set. And down here in the thickness section, we will add a modifier called the long stroke modifier. And for the long stroke modifier, we will use multiply, and here we choose curve and increase the center key to the top and decrease the side keys all the way to the bottom. This will make the freestyle line thinner at the tip and thicker at the center. Okay. And one thing I forgot to mention is about the hair. You have to go to the view layer property and turn on the material index option, and go to the material tab and increase the path index to 1. Now I set the render to 24 because we have a lot of lights now, and the number of lights will cause the render to be slower, but we need less sample for the render to be cleared up. Okay. However, when we lower the render sample like this, the quality of the ambient occlusion pass will also be lowered. So we have to increase the subsamples for the AO to 2 or 3 or something higher. Okay. So that's it. Let's go ahead and hit F12 to render. And let's wait for the render to complete. Alright. We forgot to turn off the fire and it's illuminating the scene. And also, it looks like we are having some kind of bounce light problems here. Now, even though we turned off the diffuse bounce, but we did not turn off the glossy bounce, and the glossy shader in the generic tune shader is actually bouncing the light. So we need to fix that. So turn off the fire. On second thought, let's just delete it because it's ugly. So go back to the shader editor and go in the generic tune shader and create a mix shader like so, and connect this add shader, the final add shader, to the second input of the mix shader like so, and connect the camera ray to the vector of the mix shader, and let's render again to see what happens. There we go. The bounce light is now gone. Okay, and let's see what happens if we don't do that. There we go, we have some bounce light going on around here. So make sure to add this shader, this node to the shader setup. Okay, and for some reason we did not turn on Holdout for the glasses. Okay, so let's fix that real quick. Go back to the freestyle render layer and the glasses. Now, the reason we did not select the glasses, the glass frame and the lens, is because they are nested inside the glass bridge. I actually parent these pieces onto the bridge of the glasses. So when we select like this, okay, it did not select the frame and the lenses of the glasses. So we have to select these manually and go to Object Modifier and hold down Alt and turn up Holdout. And now, instead of re-rendering everything, we will only re-render the freestyle layer. So click on this button. There we go. This will re-render the freestyle layer only. And let's click on the freestyle to see what's going on. So this is the line work, and I think the line is actually too thin. So we have to fix that. Go to the view layer properties and go back down here and turn this back up to 3. There we go. And render again. And click on here and select freestyle. And it looks like the freestyle is thick enough. Now the next thing to do is to handle the hair, the outline for the hair. So we're gonna create a converter and ID mask and connect this material index pass to the ID mask, and Control Shift click on it to see the ID mask for the hair. Turn up anti-alias. We might also want to denoise this pass. Okay, so you can see a little bit difference in the pass. Okay, and turn this up to 1. There we go. Now we have only the hair. Alright, now create a filter and dilate erode node like so, and increase the step to maybe 1. Yeah, 2 is good. Alright, and create a converter math and change this to subtract, and subtract it with the original hair mask. And now we have a nice outline for the hair. Alright, now this is the alpha of the outline, the freestyle, and we need to erase the alpha where the hair is. Okay, but let's just turn off the denoise, because the denoise is a bit slow. We will turn up the denoise later when we make the final render. Okay, so copy this subtract node and connect the alpha to the first input and connect the ID mask to the second input, and let's see. There we go. And now we will combine the outline of the hair with the freestyle using the maximum mix node, the maximum math node. And now we will use this as the freestyle for our main render. So create a color mix RGB, and this one will be, and connect the original image and then we select the color of the freestyle. Now the alpha is actually causing some problem with the hair. It's actually using the alpha of the original image, so the outline of the hair is actually outside of the alpha region. So we need to set a alpha over and connect this one to the second input, and now you can see we have a nice outline. Now if you still want to have a transparent background, then you have to manipulate the alpha a little. Okay, create another math node like so, and connect the alpha here, and use maximum like so. Set this one to 0 for now. We're gonna connect this one over here like so. Now you can see the alpha is a bit fatter, okay, and now we can go to converter and select set alpha, and we can connect this image over here and connect this over here. There we go, and there we go. We now have a nice alpha. The next thing we want to do is to add some ambient occlusion to the hair, because in these regions we should have a darker color for the hair. Okay, so let's see the ambient occlusion. There we go, and create another denoise node and denoise the ambient occlusion. Turn off the HDR because the ambient occlusion is not an HDR image. Now create a color ramp node and increase the black key to the right like so. And again, let's temporarily disable the denoise node. We only apply the ambient occlusion to the hair. Okay, so color, mix RGB, and choose multiply, and multiply with the ambient occlusion. And it looks like we multiply with the wrong channel. This is the alpha, and yeah, this is the image. Connect this one here, and let's see. So the ambient occlusion is actually affecting everywhere, so we need to connect this to the factor so that it only affects the hair. Okay, and we don't want the darkness to be pitch black, so increase the lightness of the black key a little like so, or maybe make it a little blue. Maybe like so. Yeah, this will do. Okay, now the nodes are a bit messy, so now it's a good time to organize our nodes a little. Alright, we actually forgot to connect this ambient occlusion to the rest of the image, so connect this one here like so. Alright, now everything is ready to be saved, so we need to connect this to the output, the composite output, like so, and hit F11 to turn on the render. However, the composite does not update automatically, so we have to disconnect the wire and connect again. There we go. And it is time to turn on the denoise node. Okay, there we go. Alright, everything looks clean and nice. Now go to image and save as to save the image. Alright, the tutorial is now complete, and we have a very nice stylized character at our disposal, and I hope you find this technique useful for your project. If you want to help me in my video production, or just want to get the shaders without working through the tutorials, please consider buying the upgraded version on my Gumroad store here. I'll put the link in the description. The upgraded version has everything you learned in the 2D rendering series, and a couple of improvements like the gloss color, the normal, the alpha, and especially the brush type. You can now mix between the crosshatch and the dirty brush type. And you will also get this eye generator to generate the eye texture, which is not in the tutorial. Okay, I'll see you next time.